If you've ever felt frustrated with your own energy, like you should be able to do so much more, but something just feels off, and the other day you were able to accomplish so much more, then this episode is your permission to exhale. My guest today, Renae Fieck, is a mom of three, an occupational therapist, and the author of the book Cycle Sync Your Business. Her work is all about helping you understand your body's natural rhythms so you can stop pushing through and start honoring what you really need. We talk about syncing your business to your menstrual cycle, committing for more when the time is right, and knowing when to take a step back. I love this episode. It's honest, practical, and it's a total permission slip. Let's get started. This is the Leap, Live, and Lemonade podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Esther Godor. 12 years ago, I took a big leap. I left my corporate job. I moved into a new country and started a business from scratch in my fifth language. Today, I run a boutique launch and systems agency, helping ambitious entrepreneurs build smart and scalable digital businesses on Kajabi without having to do everything by themselves. This is your go-to place with honest stories, actionable strategies, and real talk around building a business and life you love. Your best life and success story are still ahead. Let's write them together. Hi, Renae. Welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, such a pleasure to have you. I've been looking forward to this as I've been always intrigued by your topic. But before I jump into that, please tell our listeners, our viewers, what you do and why do you do what you do?
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me here. I'm super excited. And yes, I 100% believe like this is a topic for men and women. So if there are men listening, like don't just jump out and go away and also that we have so much to pass on to the next generation. Like if the next generation of girls learns this when they're 12 and 13, like that would be absolutely amazing instead of waiting until they're almost 40. Like I just turned 40. So like, I wish I had known this when I was 12 and 13. But yes, Renae, I am a feminine leadership coach and cycle syncing expert. I'm also an occupational therapist. So that background in the physiology and the actual body makes up a huge part of what I do, and really understanding people's biochemistry, understanding our nervous systems, like understanding how all that works. I started my business back when I was pregnant with right after I had my third baby. My husband had been diagnosed with a brain tumor, and we had our third baby, and I got what I thought was my dream job at the Children's Hospital. And so like all of these things were like all happening at the same time. It was a very intense year, but very quickly realized like time goes by so fast. Like our little ones are only little for such a short period of time. And with my husband and like going through his brain tumor and his surgery and seizures and like all the subsequent things that we had after that, it made me really realize like we only get one life. And are we really living that life in the current now, how we want to be living it? There's so much messaging and so much out there about like the future and our goals and like where we're headed. But at the time it was like, I want to actually enjoy life now. I don't want to just wait until my kids are old and now I have all this money, right? Or now I've saved up and life is different now. So I set out on this journey of like, how do I really create that now? And it was starting a business. And at the time it was a network marketing business. And I don't know about you, Esther, but when I started my business, it was a whole lot of hustling, and there was a whole lot of late nights, and there was a whole lot of getting up early and squeezing in work in every little nook and cranny. And 2 years in, got to the place where I'm like, man, I am trading the very thing I wanted. Like I wanted more time with my family. And now I'm trading all of that extra time that I could be spending with them, trying to build this side hustle. And it's not growing as fast as I want it to grow. And so now I feel like I've spent all this time, it's not growing. And now I've just wasted all this time. And it was this really hard spot that I kind of got into of realizing maybe it's something I just don't have. Maybe there's something other people have, like business people have, like some magical touch that is just like, it's not meant for me. Or maybe there's something I'm doing wrong. Like maybe there's something truly wrong with the way I'm trying to build my business and the way I'm working and the way I'm structuring it, and
Mm-hmm.
almost gave up. Like I will say, I almost threw in the towel on business and said I wasn't going to do it anymore. And then I
Mm-hmm.
discovered how we can step into this place of our cycles, and how our cycles and the way women are designed to work is just different and than men, biochemistry, and then also energetically, like the feminine and the masculine. Like there's so many nuances, and so much of what we've been taught is just from that more masculine approach in terms of biology and makeup and energy and like all of the things. So that's kind of how I got started. And once I started sharing it with my clients at the time, I was like in the back end being like, man, this is really working. Like, this is really helping me. That's when my clients were like, girl, you need to be talking about this. Like, this is what every woman
Mm-hmm.
needs to know. So that's a little bit
Wow.
about my story and that journey of how I kind of got to where I am today.
Okay, so when we say cycle, let's clarify something that we are talking about menstrual cycle. It was
Mm-hmm.
funny. I was reading the book Fast Like a Girl from Mindy Peltz. I'm following her intermittent fasting routine. One of the like at the start of the book, she said cycling women. My brain automatically went to like cyclists. Maybe it's because English is my
Mm-hmm.
second language. And then I realized,
Yeah.
no, it's women who have a cycle, a menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we are talking about here. It's still, I'm at the start of this journey, and it hits me how different you describe. Like you are like, if you didn't know what you know now, you would have had to leave having a business. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think it's that serious?
I mean, I think that what a lot of women, I think a lot of women are experiencing burnout in business,
Mm-hmm.
100%. I think even if we just look at not even carrying a business, women are in this place of burnout. We're juggling so many things, right? In the past, we were predominantly taking care of just our babies and taking care of the household and maybe doing some bartering with our neighbors and things like that. Now, we are still oftentimes managing a majority of that, as well as now adding in, work. And for most of the
Yeah.
women that I've worked with, they have a full-time job or a part-time job of some sort, and then they're also now building this business on the side. And I think that just with the way, like looking at it from a nervous system perspective, the amount of pressures and the amount of stimuli and the amount of like sensory stimuli that we're receiving today is putting us in a little bit more of a state of potential burnout, regardless of the activities that we're doing. We just have so much coming at us. There's so much stimulation that our nervous systems are in a little bit of fight or flight, probably a majority of the time for most
Yeah.
women. And so I do think that there's this element of one, we've got to get our nervous systems back into control. And when
Mm-hmm.
we start to look at like our bodies and our menstrual cycles, like there's a majority of women have some sort of issue around that area, whether it be infertility, whether it be irregular periods, whether it be endometriosis, whether it be you name it. Like there's so many women's health issues that are populating to the surface. And I think a big part of that is that we're living out of that rhythm with the way our body was really meant to be. So it's kind of like we have cortisol, the stress hormone, it's constantly pummeling out, even if those little things that we don't feel like are big stressors, but it's like it is a stressor on the body. And so our bodies right now are functioning in this low or maybe high level of stress all of the time, which is sending this
Mm-hmm.
cascade of health problems, of mental health problems, of productivity problems. Like there's so many layers to it. So yeah, I do think it's one of those things that whether or not you're actually using your menstrual cycle and cycling your business with it or whatnot, I think it is imperative that women really start to understand like what is actually happening in their bodies and what is the impact of all of the things, like whether it's business, whether it's social media, whether it's our food, whether it's our pesticides, like whether all of those things, they all are contributing to how your body is functioning, and how your body is functioning is going to precipitate health diseases and mental health and stamina and energy and all the things. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's one of those conversations like multi layered. I 100% yes. Yeah.
Mm. Now listening to you, I'm remembering, I think I heard about this concept, this idea like 4 years ago, and I was very much in the middle of total hustle mode. And
Mm-hmm.
what I thought was, okay, once I get stability in my business,
Mm-hmm.
once I get my finances in order, then I'm gonna look at this
Yeah.
fancy approach of cycle syncing my
Yeah.
business or my life. But I realized this works the same way, like with money mindset, like I'm gonna get
Mm.
my business in order when I have enough money. Now I just have to
Yes.
hold my head down and push forward. Whereas if I never stop and never get things in order, I will never get to that level. So it could have been that I could have looked at this already 4 years
Mm-hmm.
ago when I was
Mm-hmm.
38, and maybe things would have gone a lot more easily. But I
Mm-hmm.
looked at this as like a fancy thing, like
Yeah.
whenever I will be so bored that I'm like, okay, what else could I will
Totally.
then I will look at it. I was like, I can't afford looking at this because I thought there will be parts in the month when I
Mm-hmm.
have to slow down. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I can't afford slowing down. That's not an option.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that's the mode I was in.
Yeah. And I mean, I hear that a lot. There's a lot of women that are in that place of like, I can't slow down. Like, if I slow down, I have 5 bajillion plates spinning at the same exact time. Like, if I slow down, one or more of them are going to fall. And I'm not going to have the same momentum or the same energy. And I think a lot of that is just built off of the constructs of what we've been taught and messaging and the systems and things that we are involved in and like built within, right? Like, we live in a very
Mm-hmm.
patriarchal sort of society. And so it is very much built around that masculine sort of way of being. And I hear it all the time. Like, I get messages on my Facebook, it's actually Facebook only, on my Facebook posts about men being like, oh, you want equality, but you don't want to work equally. And it's like, well, it's not the
Mm-hmm.
same as women operating with their cycle doesn't necessarily mean they're slowing down and they're not as effective. It just means when you slow down, you become more effective in those other times of the month. So I kind of describe it to my clients as like a slingshot. When my dad gave my son and my nephew these like slingshots, and they were out in the backyard, or like in the RV park we were staying at camping, and they were like pulling the slingshots back. And at first they're just pulling the rubber band a little bit and the rock is flying maybe a couple feet, and then they got really adventurous and they start pulling it back really far and the rock starts flying really far. And I was like, they've got to get out of this RV park or we're going to have damage, and then I'm going to have to pay for it. But it's kind of that same idea that we have ingrained in our way of being, that we have to just go all of the time. That
Mm-hmm.
productivity looks the same, and it looks like checking off the to-do list, getting things done, moving forward, like the hustle mode. Like, that is what we've been ingrained to believe is productive. But when we really look at productivity and the way that women's cycles work, it's like there is an element of pulling back. There is an element of slowing
Mm-hmm.
down. Doesn't mean that you're stopping everything in your business. Like, those times are still productive. It's a different type of productivity. What I call like your period phase, it's like that is, I've started describing it. And if I were to go back and rename it, I would name it like the visionary phase. And you think about
Mm-hmm.
like really successful businesses, the leader is predominantly in that visionary space, right? He's the one, or she is the one directing the ship, directing where to go, overseeing like the whole big expanse of it. But when we're caught in the weeds of just the doing all of the time, we lose out on that. Like, the most
Mm-hmm.
effective businesses are the ones that have that real strong visionary at the lead, at the helm. But what happens is that for most of us, especially as beginning entrepreneurs or like in those like build up, start it phases, we're like, we just got to keep going. We got to keep producing. We got to keep hustling. And we don't ever get ourselves back into that visionary space. And
Mm-hmm.
so what most women may think is like a lazy week or a non-productive week is actually becomes your most productive week, right? That is your visionary week. It's your time of really standing in there and casting that vision and like really getting clear on like, am I moving forward towards the things I really want to? Am I taking the right aligned actions? Like, what is the best fit for me this month? Where do I really want to shift and go? And so while it may feel like a slowdown, it actually becomes that slingshot, that pull back
Mm-hmm.
that makes you fly really far, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's some layers of that, of just like really looking at how have we been taught, or what have we been taught about productivity, and what does productivity look like? Men have these same cycles, they just cycle them in the day. It's not that they don't have them, they just cycle through it quicker. And so while a man may have this like visionary phase maybe for like an hour or two a day, we have the week, right? And so it's not that we don't need it or don't have it, it's just that our productivity looks a little different. Like we can function the same, produce the same amount, even taking that
Mm-hmm.
week to slow down, that a man may get in that same whole month, if that makes sense.
So let's take an example. I'm pretty sure that when we talked about when this recording would happen, you had your cycle and seasons in mind, right? We agreed in January and now we are in April. So here you were able to define the date or choose a date on the week where you thought it would be a good fit. But what happens if you get like your biggest, most amazing speaking opportunity for, I don't know, the middle of June? And
Yeah.
that's not a great week for you on maybe speaking in front of
Yeah.
hundreds or thousands of people, but you still want to do it. So what
Yeah.
can you do about that?
Totally. Yes. So good. And one, I'll just highlight like women are amazing, right? Like we have accomplished really amazing things and we've done really amazing things without even paying attention to our cycles. So first off, like, yes, I don't want anybody walking away from this conversation thinking like, oh, Renae told me because I'm in that phase of my month, I can't do anything. So I'm just like now crippled and like chained to this idea. It's actually the opposite. Like I very much believe that what I teach and how I teach it is meant to help liberate women. It's help to permission women to really build it and do it the way that they want and give them choice and autonomy and like be able to make those decisions for themselves. So first off, yeah, we can take a look at our schedule and 6 months from now, one, it may fall in the wrong spot. But two, things may change 6 months from now, right? Like my
Yeah.
cycle has a few days of variance. And so if it looks great now, you stack 6 months of 2 to 3 days of variance on there, it could be in a completely different phase by the time we get 6 months down the road, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's some element of like we can do our best to schedule things like when we are going to be at our best and we're going to be at our peak. But the magic of it is really learning how to listen to your body and learning to listen to like what you need. So for instance, if I got a speaking opportunity and it fell right in the middle of my period week, which would not probably be my most optimum time, I could still say yes, but I also now have that knowledge of like, hey, my energy may not be at its fullest. My capacity might not be at its fullest. So what do I need to do to stack the rest of my day or to really help support my body at that place? It's kind of like looking if I had one, bar of energy, but the task that I need to get done requires 4 bars of energy. I can look at that and say, okay, I can still do this 4 bar energy task, but how am I going to make up the difference? Because I only have 1 bar of energy. So that may look like I don't schedule anything else in that day. That is the only thing. Maybe I ensure that I get a bubble bath. Maybe I get outside in nature. Maybe I'm doing breath work. Maybe I'm taking a few days off after, like whatever it may be, and however you need to adjust to really support your energy in that state is going to be the key piece. One of the things I ask my clients to do every day is like every single day, just ask yourself, like, what does my body need today? Because I think that's even in the moment, right? Like your cycle is one component and one piece, but what if you slept really crappy last night? And maybe
Yeah.
you went out with your girlfriends and had a couple of drinks and now that's making you sluggish. Like your cycle is just one piece of who you are and like how you're showing up in the world. And so when we like the most important part of what I do and what I'm teaching women is how do you really learn to listen to yourself? Like how do you learn to listen to your body? How do you learn to listen to that like subtle little language that it puts out there? And then that intuitive part of you. Most of us aren't listening to that either too, And so it's like really helping women to start listening to their bodies, and listening to your cycle is just one piece of that. layering out even more, it's like, how do I really become a good steward of what my body needs? And how do I take care of
Mm-hmm.
my body? How do I support my body? If there's something I really want to do, but I know looking at the calendar, it's going to fall at a time when I'm energy depleted, what do I need to do to support my energy to still meet those demands? What happens is that most of us aren't even paying attention to that. And so we're just like going, going,
Yeah.
going, going, going. And then we get to this place where like women are burnt out and they're overwhelmed and they're exhausted and they're frustrated and they're feeling like, what the heck? But it's like these, just if they had paid attention to the subtle little energies conversations of their body, or listened to like what their body is saying all along, they may not have reached that place of just like total depletion.
How would you get started about getting to know our bodies? So someone who has never come across this kind of approach, and
Yeah.
even independently from syncing it to the cycle, just listening to our body. I can very clearly remember that in the first 4 years of my business, listening to my body was like the very last item
Yeah.
on the list. And I would only listen when I got really sick. That happened
Yeah.
sometimes. And even then I would be pushing through, like freelancers don't get sick. At
Yeah.
least in Spain we don't, because there is no sick leave and stuff like that here. Or I don't know, it's very
Yeah.
low. So we have this saying, freelancers don't get
Mm-hmm.
sick. That kind of mentality is like making you work like a robot. Just, okay, I'm up. I have to do a million things, and maybe I will get done 40, and then tomorrow I will have another million, and it's just going. So how would someone who is right in the middle of that start listening to their body?
Mm-hmm.
What is your secret to that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's so many different layers, and it is kind of like a process of learning to listen to our bodies, right? So we have so many different senses, and we also like we have our taste and touch and smell and things like that, but we also have internal senses that we don't know, like we don't always see on the external side of it. And so it's understand like beginning to learn and understand how to listen to that of like, what is my body telling me? I mean, I think it could be a lifetime journey. Like even for me today, I'm like, wow, I'm still uncovering. I mean, I've been an OT for 14 years or 15 years now. And so like I've been immersed
Which
in this
is
world, occupational therapist, like which is like immersed in this world of the body and the senses and like understanding it from a very sensory perspective. So like I've been in this world for a good chunk of time, and even now I
mm-hmm.
feel like, man, I'm still just uncovering like the breadth of like being able to listen to our bodies, right? So one, I
Mm-hmm.
would just acknowledge that like understanding and learning to listen to your bodies is probably something that you will continue to evolve in for the rest of your life. So give yourself a little bit of grace in terms of like what season or what stage that is and what that looks like for you. I would say one of the practices that has been really helpful for me has been practicing breath work, and not even necessarily breath work as in like a modality, which is amazing, but even just the sense of like when you sit down to work or when you get in the car or when you're cooking breakfast or when you're doing whatever, bringing your attention to the breath and like breathing in, breathing out, and breathing in, breathing out, even if you just do it like 5 to 10 times to help you just take a pause. I think the pause is the number one thing that you could do to help create more of that listening of your body. Because, like you said, we're looking at the task of 45,000 things that we have on our to-do list. If you're like me, I have 3 kids. And so like between 3 kids and a business and multiple sports and taking care of the dog and all the things, like finding moments to pause in my day it's challenging if I'm not intentional about it. And so that
Mm-hmm.
intentionality can be really simple. It can be really slow. Like I said, you can interweave it into every part of your life. Like when you're cooking dinner, you're like, hey, every time I cook dinner, I'm just going to like be here. Like I'm going to focus on like right now, I'm in the moment of making my dinner and like what is present for me right now. So I think
Mm-hmm.
one that is huge of just like listening. And then the other piece is like specifically around the cycle is just learning to track kind of like what's coming up for you, these patterns that may come up for you, right? There's going to be probably a time of the month when you feel like burning everything down, and that it's going to probably come on a pretty clockwork thing. Like it was funny, I was actually at my retreat. I host a retreat for women in business, and one of the women was like, man, like a week ago, I just felt like I was going to burn everything down. And I was like over it. And I was like venting with my husband. And all of us in the room were like, what phase were you in? Like before we even get into coaching on like where you want to go and like how we want to adjust things for you, like let's take into account that like maybe we were just in a cycle phase of everything needed to
Yeah.
crash down, you know? So I think just starting to track that, like every single day, kind of tuning in, where am I in my cycle? And there's a whole bunch of tools and resources I'm happy to share if people need help with like actually learning to track and listen to that on like a biological perspective. But I think even just that intentionality of slowing down and asking those questions, asking yourself,
Mm-hmm.
like, what is present for me right now? What does my body need right now? Like, where am I? Like, where in my cycle am I? Like, what am I experiencing? Like, how can I be present in my body right now instead of worried about what's on social media and like, what do I have next to do? And like, I've got to make dinner and I've got all these other like pieces and things juggling. How do I
Mm-hmm.
just be present in my body right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Until like 2 years ago, I wouldn't even know where I was in my cycle.
Yeah.
When I would go to the doctor, where they would ask me, sometimes I would have big trouble even to remember when did I get my last.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I know, I think I have more control, but I'm still in the phase where I don't fully know. It's more like when something happens,
Yeah.
then I can track it back. My husband calls it la furia. When the raging woman comes out, it's la furia in Spanish, or
Yeah.
at least in our house. So when the furia comes out, that can be usually explained with it's the week before my
Mm-hmm.
my menstruation would
Mm-hmm.
happen. But sometimes I can't avoid it coming
Yeah.
out, the furia. But then there are other, like lately, it has only been like the last 4 or 5 months when
Uh-huh.
I felt it like, oh my God, it's happening. We were the three of us the last time it was getting serious. It was him, his daughter, and me. And I was just like, okay, I need to remove myself from the situation. So I literally just left the house and we were able to skip that meltdown session. And it's a new experience for me and it's so cool. And
Yeah.
yeah, today at lunch, I asked him, when was the last time that the furia really came out? And he didn't really remember a recent time, which is really
Yeah.
good. But
Yeah.
how do we, can you explain to us, yeah, about the phases in the
Mm-hmm.
whole cycle? You explain this with full detail in your beautiful book,
Yeah.
which I have here. Can we go into the four phases and what each of them is, what each of them
Totally.
is for? And yeah, let's go through that because I think it's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I'll start maybe with the Lafudia phase because you were already talking about it. And I think even just what you highlighted too is like one, as you start cycling and as you start trusting and leaning into what your body's saying, oftentimes those extremes can become less and less and less because
Mhm.
you're now paying attention to what your body needs. And so it's less of this like rearing its ugly head and like going all crazy sort of moment. It's like, oh, I feel this and I'm feeling a little bit more intensity, but now I know I can go for a walk. Now I know, okay, this is where I'm at. This is how I'm going to support my
Mhm.
body. So you start to adjust and accommodate, and those things do become less extreme. I have clients who will tell me like now they almost feel like they have no hormonal shift throughout the month because everything has just gotten so much more smooth because
It
they
gets
they
boring.
so boring. Yeah, they're like, I know how to adjust for my body. So
Mhm.
that phase is the week before your period. Oftentimes, I have clients, they're like, that's actually the worst week of the month. Like most women will say the period part isn't that bad. It's
Mhm.
this phase because it can be so intense. So, what happens is that as you move through the cycle, in the front half, we have estrogen, and estrogen climbs. And then, right around the time of ovulation, estrogen drops, or like shortly after that, estrogen drops off and
Mhm.
progesterone kicks in. And they just feel very different. So, progesterone tends to be that feeling of like, I want to slow down. Maybe you've been going, going, going all month long with that nice estrogen. Like, it's more of the masculine type of energy of like, let's keep going. But when
Mhm.
progesterone kicks in, it's like, no, I want to slow down. please don't make me be on camera. I don't want to talk to anybody. You might be really productive. It's like a very detail type of productivity, like organizational. It's oftentimes the time when I hear like my clients, they'll say like, I cleaned out my entire closet, or I went through my entire downloads folder, and I cleaned out my entire email inbox. Like it's like these micro types of tasks where you're like sort, cull, sort, cull. Like I'm organizational and cleaning everything out. So it can be very detailed and very organizational, but it's not the time of the month when you're going to feel like, hey, let's show up on a podcast or let's go live. Like I feel glowing. I feel radiant. I feel amazing. It's going to be, no, I'm right now maybe filled with a lot of self-doubt, and I'm not sure if this is possible for me. I'm not sure if I really want to be doing this anymore. I feel like the world's worst mom. I'm the world's worst wife. I'm like failing in my business, like burn it all down. Right. And so for a lot of women, that can be really intense and really heavy and hard. But what I've noticed and what I've learned over my years in business is that so much of our success in business is going to be about our level of being willing to heal and grow ourselves and like do that inner work. And so in some sense, if you do believe that, like if you're a type of business owner that does that, and like if you're building a personal brand, it's probably different than if you're building a brick and mortar. Like it's going to just be a little bit different. Let's be honest. But being willing to go to those places of like, this is the fear that's coming up for me. This is the belief that's coming up for me. This is the doubt that's coming up for me. One, it can create a lot of healing. So it can be one of your most healing, expansive phases, but it also can really highlight the things that are not working for you. So if you're feeling so incredibly overwhelmed, like my client was like, I want to burn my entire business down. Like I think I want to shut the whole thing down. It's like, okay, well, let's sit with that feeling rather than just like brushing it off or moving it on or ignoring it. How can we sit with it? And like, what is really coming up for you? Is it you're not feeling in alignment with what you are doing anymore? Is it that really you're maxed out? Are you not meeting your values? Like, what is it? Like, why is that feeling coming up? So I think in our world, maybe, I mean, I don't know if it's the same in Spain, but in the US, there's a lot on like, don't feel your feelings, be strong, just buckle up and keep moving on, and like just shove all those things down. But those things are coming up for a really big reason. And so this can be that time for you to really lean in and listen to them. So, like I said, that it's actually become my favorite phase because I like spend a lot more time with myself. I'm like, I go deeper into like, what's actually coming up? Like, what are these beliefs? What are these fears? Like, how can I just nurture myself during this phase? And so it can become a really beautiful phase instead of this phase where you're like, I'm a raging lunatic. It's like, this is my nurture phase. You know, like I'll tell the kids, like, hey, mom needs a break right now. I'm going to go sit in the backyard. I'm going to sit in the sunshine. I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. Right. But I can communicate that to them and be like, I'm tapped out right now and I need this space. So, like, please let me have some, you know? And so, yes, that one's my favorite phase. So then after that luteal phase, it comes in your menstrual phase. So I know I said at the beginning, that's like what I now kind of describe and talk about is like the visionary phase, but it's also your recharge phase. It's the time of the month when it is for you to like slow down, recharge your cup so that you have the energy and the stamina to achieve everything you want to do in the rest of the month. Like if you were to try to go after big goals, but you only have half a tank of gas, like it's not going to be as effective as if you have a full tank of gas. So think of this time as like, how do you really nurture and fill your cup so that you have the energy you need? And physiologically, you're just going to be more drained. Like your body just, that's the way it works. When you're losing blood, you're losing iron, and iron has huge energy component, but it's also that like cast your vision, like where am I going this month? Like get yourself super excited about what you're doing and where you're going. It's not just I'm muscling through day after day after day. It's like, this is my time to like really step into like, who am I being? Like who do I need to be to achieve the goals I've set for myself this month? And like, how do I step into that identity right now? So that really can be that menstrual phase. And then after your menstrual,
before we move on, there's an interesting element, and you briefly mentioned this today and also mentioned it in the book. Like I feel like lately observing myself more, I feel like my worst week, though from today on I will try to look at it differently and try to find the beauty of it, is really the last week before my
Yeah.
period. And when my period actually happens, I feel like it does give me a new source of like power and
Mm-hmm.
energy. Even I'm able to do stronger workouts.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first 2 days, and then it's more like I want to just maybe not do that much. So could it be that, or could it be that it's true, or am I like mistaken, or am I just making it up that now I have more energy and I can do more?
No, I mean, I hear it from a lot of women that like the heaviness, I think it's the emotionality, right? The emotionality
Mm-hmm.
heaviness that we feel in that luteal phase. It's almost like that gets lifted as soon as our period comes in. And so it does kind of like, one, we look at like the blood and like the blood loss that we're doing, it's cleansing, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
purging, it's like a clearing out. And think about if you go through your house and you declutter, like I oftentimes like if I go through and I'm like, "Ah, I can breathe. It feels so good in
Yeah.
here." Like you feel light, you kind of feel airy. It can be something similar like that when you start when your
Mm-hmm.
period comes, right? It's like purging and cleansing out. You've just like walked through all these dense, heavy emotions and you've felt them and you've sat with them. And then the period comes in. It's like, let's clear all that out. Let's make room. Like let's clear space for what we're creating this month. And so it can have a bit of that, like my energy's back. I'm like, I'm here. I'm ready to go. And in that time, it is that phase of like, how do you nurture that? Like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
amplify that? How do you know, like you said, like you get excited about what's coming and like you feel this energy and you're ready to go. And it's like maybe some of it is like, I am going to work out really hard right now because that's what my body's asking me to do. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a big one. Like if your body is asking you for that, like lean into that and like, how can I support and nurture what my body wants right now? Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling that doing a workout right now is going to make me feel energized and it's going to make me feel good and it's going to make me feel amplified, heck yes, like even doing that, you know? So yeah, it can be very, on the same token, some people don't feel that. Some people do
Mm-hmm.
feel like, man, the blood loss. So I think it probably partly has to do with like the amount of blood too. Like if you are a heavy
Yeah.
bleeder, physically you're probably going to feel a little bit more physically drained. You might feel emotionally and energetically excited and amped up, but physically you might be like, I want to take it slow. So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of really uncovering and listening to your body from those two perspectives too, of like there's the body you and there's the energetic you, and like how do they merge together and how do they coexist together. It's not just your physical aspect, it's the energetic
Yeah.
aspect too, and how they go together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you talk about physical body, mental
Mm-hmm.
body, and emotional body
Mm-hmm.
in the book. I don't think I've ever looked at things from that perspective.
Yeah.
Like never slowed down to
Yeah.
actually take that in.
Yeah. There's so many
Uh
pieces and facets to us, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
All right, let's continue
Okay.
and then I'll get back to some of this. Okay, so after the period, what
Yes.
happens?
Then your estrogen starts to pick back up. So estrogen during that period week, most of your hormones are pretty like low. They're like flatlined. And then estrogen really picks up. And that estrogen is going to be that more masculine, like I'm ready to go. If you're, you know, if you've ever noticed, like there's times when you're like, I'm ready to take on a new diet. I'm going to do a new workout plan. I'm going to like do this whole new big, I'm going to do 100 days on Instagram, posting every day or whatever it might be. Like you, if you pay attention to those times when you're like 100% all in on committing to something like
Mm-hmm.
that, chances are it's during this phase because you're like, yes, I can tackle everything. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I'm ready to
Mm-hmm.
go. Like your body is most of the time going to be this like big energetic yes to life and doing things and creating big things and moving big things. And so you want to lean into that with those big projects, those big things. If, you know, if like I talk a lot about like the cycle and how it creates this balance, this might be a time of the month when you are getting up really early in the morning and working really late at night. Like I remember there was
Mm-hmm.
one time I had a during this phase, I had like a day of back-to-back recordings and calls and whatever, I got to the end of the day, I was like, wow, that was a 16-hour day and I still feel good. I'm like ready to go. But if you had me do that in that luteal phase, I probably would have been melting. Like there's absolutely no way I could have done it. So when we like, even just looking at like men saying like, oh, women don't want equality, it's like, well, this phase you may be able to push so much harder. This is your push phase, but it's not going to feel like you're pushing. It's not going to feel like it's burning you out to push this way. It's going to like, you may even feel excited to do the push, right? Like this is the time of the month where I'm like, yes, let me work. Like I want to give so much of myself to my business right now. And so let yourself do that. Let yourself go into that, lean into that. Like your sleep patterns might change, your work habits might change. It's okay. Like let that happen. Like let your body do that. You may not eat the same, like your appetite might be less, like everything in your body changes throughout your cycle. And this is one of those phases where you like can run on less energy or like run on less nurturing, so less sleep, less food, less taking care of yourself, and you're going to still feel good. Versus that luteal phase, you may be like, I can only work 2 hours today and I need to eat a whole bunch of food and I'm not working out. Like I need to nurture myself. Like they're just very, very contrastingly different. So this phase is great for tackling any of those big to-dos, big projects, big things that you need to create big momentum with. And then it reaches the top of that estrogen curve is right around ovulation. That's the time when your body is literally signaling to the world to mate with you. You are the most magnetic, you're the most radiant, you're the most glowing, you might communicate the most effectively. You're going to feel the most aligned to be on stage or talk to people or podcasts or interviews or like lives, all that social media content, like any of that type of content where you have to project out into the world. This is going to be your phase. So that phase of like estrogen ramping up, your follicular phase and your ovulation phase, those are kind of your outward facing phases. They're your extroverted phases, your pushing energy out into the world type of phases. That luteal phase and the menstrual phase are like, how do I come back and tune back in with myself and refill my cup, and maybe more of like that introverted phase. So each one of those phases has a different element, a different superpower, a different strength, a different obstacle, challenge, if you'd call it that. And it's really about learning, how do I honor each of those different uniquenesses? And how do I learn to support my body in each one of those different phases where it's at? And give yourself the permission to do that. Like, there maybe one week you allow yourself to like sleep in and skip the morning workout because that's the phase of the month you're in. And instead of feeling guilty about it, of like, man, I don't stay consistent with anything I commit to. And I said I was going to do this workout every day for 30 days. And look at me, I'm like 2 weeks in and I just can't, I'm hitting snooze, right? Like, let's let go of that mentality and know that you don't have to be the same every single day to be consistent. Your consistency looks very different. And so like, it's really about honoring this rhythm of what your body needs when it needs it, instead of expecting it to be every day.
Yeah. I'm realizing right now that for this podcast recording, I have the pledge with myself that I do one a week with a guest and one a week with just me, a solo episode. But maybe it shouldn't be like that. Maybe there could be a week when I'm not doing any, but there could be other weeks when I'm doing 4.
Totally.
And I was always like, okay, I have to do one a week. Maybe no, I don't have to.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Like do them when you feel like this is my amazing. So for me, I recently started repodcasting. I haven't been podcasting in a while myself, but my favorite sweet spot to record podcast episodes is like when the ovulation energy is dipping and the luteal phase energy is rising. So it's kind of that cross. It's the cross between like high, vibrant, like I want to be out in the world, and also this emotional, connected, like inner sort of space. It's like the marrying and the blending between that. That's like my favorite sweet spot. Like when I record solo episodes, that's when I love to do it, because there is some of that, like I still feel good about coming on and talking, but I also am feeling more of that introspective, like deep type of content. And so it's my favorite sweet spot. And so when I was recording a lot of episodes in the past, I would record like 4 or 5 episodes during that week, if possible, like if I felt like it, because that's when I felt the most ready to do that. And then I was set for the whole rest of the month versus feeling like what you're saying, I have to do it every week. Instead of having those blocks every single week, it's like, how can we block with where our energy is actually at and meet the task that fits that?
Wow, this makes so much sense. And I'm just thinking back, like I thought, oh, there are days when I would sit down with the most amazing script that I have written, and even that way I don't get the solo episode done because it just doesn't come out the way I want it. And other days I would just do an unscripted one and I would be so happy with it. And I never thought about it this way. And I'm just like, I'm just waiting for those days unconsciously, like when they happen. But maybe I could try and plan them out.
Totally. Your energy makes such a huge difference, right? Like we've all listened to those episodes or done our own. Usually we're more like evaluating our own than other people's, but where we sit there and we're like, man, there was just something off about that episode. Like I didn't like it. Like I recorded it 5 bajillion times, or I kept saying the same thing like funny, and I didn't say it how I really wanted, versus like what you said, we speak and it's just like on fire, on point. We're like feeling so good and we leave it and we're like, man, that was an amazing episode, right? That energy makes a huge difference. And oftentimes we're just not even paying attention to where that energy is falling. But this does give you an opportunity to kind of look at like, where is my energy naturally aligned and how do I fit with that, so that maybe I have more of those spark days where I leave the conversation, I'm like, damn, that was good. Like I really felt like that was good. And it's not coincidental. Like, like, oh, this is when it's going to be the last time for me to do that.
Okay. It's amazing to know that it's not just a coincidence. So I don't have to like just wait. I can do other things and then schedule that in for when it's most probably gonna work. You also mentioned photo shoots, and that's a funny one for me because the last time I had a photo shoot, the only thing I was looking at was avoiding that I'd have my period that day. But nothing else. So I ended up doing it right before my period, which now I understand it was probably not the best idea, because when I saw the photos, like everybody said they were amazing. They were, oh my God, wonderful. And I was like, oh my God, my arm, what does it look like? Oh, I should have worked out more. Oh, that dress, why didn't she tell me that it wasn't like it didn't look good? And I was just picking on all those already, like at the photo shoot. And now I realize that was probably the worst time I could put that to, because maybe even with my period, it would have been better if it had to be that part of the month. This is crazy.
I mean, there is actual science. There is actual science that shows like your skin changes, like your skin glow changes, the texture of your skin. Like even this morning, like I'm coming off, I'm kind of in that gray area between the ovulation phase and my luteal phase. My app says that I like ovulated a little bit earlier than I thought. My Google calendar is a little bit later. So it's like kind of we're in a little bit of a gray area. And I woke up this morning, I'm like, man, my face looks a little dull. Like I can just tell, like my skin just looks a little more tired than normal. Right. And I was like, oh, I bet you I can feel that the hormone shift. Like, so it's like subtle little things that you might notice like that. That might be what you were picking up on. You're like, man, my body just didn't look vibrant. Like it didn't look amazing. Like it didn't look how I want to feel, and you can just sort of subtly pick up on it. But there is science, there's research. Like, I mean, our skin changes, our saliva changes, our smell changes, our brain changes. Like they're literally every part of your body is changing every single day. And we just don't know it. Like we're not paying attention to it enough. Yeah.
Wow. So, it's such a, I am realizing this beyond 40, and I so would have wanted to know this at like latest in my 20s or even before.
For sure.
Oh my God. This is crazy. Tell us a little bit about, you mentioned you have written a book, you run like you have a membership or a course. Yeah.
Yeah.
You run retreats, you have
Mhm.
your kids, but you
Yeah.
also have a job, like a day job, night job. How does it still fit in? Can you take weeks off your job, or how do you still juggle with it all?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well,
tell us about your job. I love
yeah.
that.
So I work in the NICU. So it's in the neonatal intensive care unit as a therapist there. And
Mm,
so just like I talked about here, like understanding the nervous system and the body, it's like that's what I do, but with babies and helping their brains and their bodies develop when they're born way too early. So that was always my dream to get to that place. And about 5 years ago, I was offered a position doing that kind of out of the blue. And I love it. Like it's one of
mm,
those things, like there's so much of who I am that has grown outside of the NICU that makes me a better therapist in the NICU. And then in the NICU, the things that I experience there are just so life changing and amazing too, that they impact the way
mm,
I show up outside in my business and my life and things too. So it's one of those people ask me all the time, when are you going to ever leave the hospital? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I love it so much. Like those moments when I get to like help, a mom that has her baby was born at 20, 28 weeks, 29 weeks, and to get to that place where she's able to latch the baby on and breastfeed for the first time and she's crying and like this just magical moment that happens. I'm like, I don't know if I could ever get those feelings
mm,
anywhere else. But I feel very fortunate. The way that I work with them is that I'm per diem, which means basically I work when I want and as needed, essentially.
mm,
So for me, it's created a lot of flexibility. I only work, usually about 2 days a week. And if I
mm,
know I have something coming up and I don't want to be at the hospital, I can just tell them I'm not working that week. It's kind of an idea. So for me, I have a lot of flexibility in the way that I work and in the position that I'm in. I don't take off weeks on my period or luteal phase or things like that. I usually structure it around that.
mm,
So for me, for especially like it's one of the questions I hear for a lot of women that are working 9 to 5s that maybe don't have as much flexibility as mine does. They'll ask, like, how do I do this in my job? Like, my boss is not going to let me just take a week off, or he's not going to let me rearrange
yeah.
everything in my calendar. And I think it's one of those things where we don't have to we don't have to rearrange everything, but what are the things that are going to make the biggest impact for you? What are the things that are going to really impact how you're showing up and how you're feeling? For me, one of the first
Mm,
things I did was my workouts. When I changed the way I was working out with my cycle, and just that alone changed how much energy I had every day. The days when
mm,
I would do these big workouts, when I felt that big workout energy, and then when I started to feel that dip, when I would be working out and I'm like dragging, I could tell, like, okay, my body needs me to switch. Like, it needs to switch into something else. And just switching my workouts changed everything for me, like so much. Whether
mm,
or not you actually can change your workload, which is what I love. I love helping entrepreneurs be able to do that. But if it's not that, like, what is it that you can change? Maybe it's just the way you're
mm,
eating. Maybe it's the way you're sleeping. Maybe it's the way you're working out. Maybe it's that you don't schedule things with other people in the afternoons and you go take a walk instead. Like, whatever it might be, how do you structure maybe even outside of that to really support where your body's at?
I love this. What is it that you can change? Because so many
Yes.
times we are like, no, I can't afford slowing down. I can't afford breathing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't afford sleeping. I can't afford exercise. Okay, so what is it that you can still change
Totally.
to make it work? That's so important. There is a an approach which comes back in your book multiple times. This is switching wanting something to allowing. Can you tell us
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about this?
Yeah. From switching, was it something specific or I don't, I'm like, what did I
It
write?
was,
I'm trying to
I think
remember.
it I think it came up with especially with the, I think the, how did you call that phase? Maybe the reflect phase,
Uh-huh.
that when you try to stick to things, sometimes things work out better if you don't
Uh-huh.
try to stick 100% to them. Just let them
Yes.
work their way out. But it's,
Yeah.
for many women especially, I think it's so difficult because we
Yeah.
have a plan in our heads and that's how things should happen.
Yes. Totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. I think it's one of the add-on chapters at the end, like past the phases, where I do talk a little about like that adaptability and like that flexibility. And I think for me, one of the biggest lessons I learned was that the one of the biggest struggles that I had with my kids or with my husband was in unmet expectations. So like I held an expectation of them that they were going to behave or act or do in a certain way. And then when they
Mhm.
didn't do that, that would make me so angry and so frustrated that they weren't reading my mind and being able to do these things when I hadn't even really expressed it, right? And so it really took me on this journey of looking at like, what are the expectations that I have? What are the attachments I have to how things are supposed to go? Like how I want them to go. And
Mhm.
when we release that tension, like when we let go of that expectation of like, it has to go this way, it does allow a little bit of this unfolding. For
Mhm.
me, the year I wrote that book was my word of the year was allow. And it was like, how do I just
Mhm.
allow things to be? Like, how do I allow what is to be here? How do I allow what's happening and the shifts and the changes? How do I allow that rather than feeling my resistance to it? And I think when we step into that place of just understanding and honoring, like I can make a plan and I can make it how I would like it to go, also
Mhm.
letting go of the attachment that it has to go that way. we
Mhm.
don't we don't always know what's best and right for us, and whether you believe in God or you believe in the universe or you believe in divine intervention or like whatever it is that you believe, there's something beyond us that we don't always have the fullest awareness of. And those, you'll hear those stories, right, of the person who got stuck in traffic and they were like so frustrated they got stuck in traffic, or their coffee spilled at the coffee cafe and they were like now 10 minutes late. And then you hear, oh, there was a giant accident on the freeway, or there was a fatality, or there was something, those inconveniences that we sometimes experience that we're like, this is such an inconvenience. We never know what that maybe is circumventing us from having or experiencing, or where it's redirecting us, or what it's shifting and changing us into, right? The divine moment that you're going to, that serendipitous moment that you're going to meet your special person, or the moment that you're going to, miss the car accident or whatever it might be. Like we just don't know. We don't know all of those
Mhm.
pieces. And so it's kind of that element of like, how can I trust and release? Like, here's my plan. Here's where I want to go. Here's what I'd like to create. This is how I want it to go. But I also am going to like trust and release that I don't have the fullest picture and I don't understand all of it. And I think,
Mhm.
again, going back to that idea of like listening to our bodies and learning to listen to the language of our bodies, it is a ongoing, lifelong journey. It is ebb and flow of like, there's times when I'm so much better at about allowing things to be and letting things go as they are. And other times I'm like, I'm holding on with a death grip. And it's like, how do we lean into those, both of those feelings, and honor both of those feelings, and
Mhm.
step ourselves a little and more and more and more towards releasing the outcome, releasing that tension, releasing that expectation that we have on the way life should be. And I think when we do that, that's when the real magic happens. Because I think there's so much more for us in life beyond what our conscious mind can come up with. Like, right? I don't, for me, like when I started my business, I had a very small window and lens of what I thought my business was going to be and what it was going to create for me. And over time, that vision keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I look back, and if I looked at myself where I was, 7 years ago when I started my network marketing business, the idea that I would be doing the things that I am now, or that I would be dreaming of the things I am now, would blow that version of me out of the water. So I think it's kind of that idea too of like just knowing that you are still unfolding and your life is still
Mhm.
unfolding, your steps are still unfolding. Like you don't know where everything is really ultimately taking you. And if you can surrender into that and trust that process, you will be amazed at where it goes.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful, and I love how you're reflecting on that version. Yeah, or even if you tell this to someone that this is what you do, they would be like, "How can you build a business out of this? How can
Mhm.
this be a job?"
Yeah.
Because this is not like the typical title that you would, like when you are a little kid, like
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to be when you grow up? This is not on the list. I don't
Yeah.
think so. Maybe for future, maybe for the new
The next
generation.
generation. Yeah. You talk to like
YouTube.
8-year-olds now and they're like, we just want to be YouTubers. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Tell us a little bit about what happens when someone doesn't have a cycle. So if they are pregnant, they are in perimenopause,
Yeah.
menopause, or for some reason they don't have a cycle. Is it just the I'm trying to listen to my body, or is there still more that
Yeah.
they can do?
I mean, I think ultimately you being able to listen to your body is number one. Like, I will without a doubt say that, like, that's number one. I think it's not something that most of us have been taught. And so it sometimes takes a little bit of support and learning into being able to do that for a lot of women.
Yeah, I said just is it just listening to your body or is there
Yeah,
more to it? I'm like, yeah, listening to your body is already huge. If
it's
I was ever
huge.
able to do that for a full month, it will blow my mind when it happens, but I hope it happens very soon.
Yeah. And just giving yourself the grace to like whatever that looks like and however it looks, you know? But
Mhm.
I think for a lot of women, when we start to look at like people, we can look at it very micro in the terms of like the hormones and the cycle. And that makes a huge difference for women, our actual biology, like what's actually happening. But when we start to meta layer it out and look at our world operates in cycles. It is this
Mhm.
cyclical rhythm, right? We have seasons of the year. We have spring, summer, winter, fall. We have season or rhythms of the moon. We have rhythms of the sun. We have rhythms of the stock market. We have rhythms in politics. We have like the seasons of life. Like we have so many cycles and seasons. I actually started to notice when I was like really starting to lean into this that there was a week in February I got sick every single year. Like it would pop up on
Mhm.
my memories of on Facebook. I'm like, I've been sick the same week for 5 years in a row. Like that's not coincidence. Like there's something
Mhm.
here. So I think when we start to really look at like what are those cycles and how do I really function within a cycle and that time in life is not linear, it's cyclical, that we can start to see where those cycles are. So for women, we follow a very similar cycle to the moon, whereas men follow a cycle to the sun. And I think it's
Mhm.
not coincidental that we've got those two elements that function and govern most of our day and nights, and that those are the same rhythms that men and women operate on. So for women that are outside of that rhythm, like they don't have a menstrual cycle for some reason, I oftentimes recommend trying to sync up with the moon. So
Mhm.
starting to use the moon as that external guide of like, okay, here I'm in this phase of like trusting myself and listening to myself. Like, how can I be intentional about that? And here's my phase of being really outward. And at first, it may not feel like it really syncs up. Like you may not feel
Mhm.
that energy there, but I think your body will is craving that, like because most of us function on that monthly rhythm for most a majority of our lives, right? That when we start to tap into that, it starts to be like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what's supposed to happen. And I've seen a lot of women that do that end up feeling more balanced. They feel more
Mhm.
like, okay, this feels like there's some semblance of a rhythm for me. It's not just go, 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 go all the time. So that's generally where I'll like give a blanket statement of starting and then it's going deeper with them and really helping them like learn what are those cycles and those patterns for you and what does it really look like
Mhm.
and lean into for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it has so many layers.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is listening to this and they're like, "Oh, okay, I want to know more about this."
Yeah.
Where can how can they go deeper with you? Where can they
Yeah.
find your book? Where can they listen to you? Can they
Yeah.
what's the next step?
For sure. Well, if you are in the US, I would love to offer your listeners that are in the US a free copy of my book. So if you go to my
Ooh.
first and last name, which is reneefieck.com/free book, you can do that and you just pay shipping and handling to get a copy of that. I'm trying to figure out a way to be able to make shipping and handling internationally affordable, but at this point, it's not there yet. So if you are international and not in the US, you can just go to reneefieck.com or cyclesyncyourbusiness.com. That'll get you access
Mm-hmm.
to the book and you can purchase it from Amazon or wherever and it'll ship directly to you. That's a great place to start. It kind of gives a lot of what we've talked about here today, but goes a little bit deeper into each of the different phases and like how that really applies and integrates into your work. If you are wanting more support on that, I would recommend your Cycle Advantage, which is my program that kind of goes into like more of this masculine approach to our cycle. Like, how do we become more productive with our cycle? How do we work with it? And then if you're looking more of the feminine approach of like going really deeper into some of these big what was the word? Not comments, content topics, maybe. I'm like, what was I looking for? The Flow Collective is my mastermind for women that are really looking to elevate their business with this more feminine approach and the more feminine energy and biology and rhythms and cyclical nature to how they run and approach their world and their business. So those would be the three areas, but definitely go check out the book. That's a great place to get started for sure.
Yeah, I can totally recommend it. I've already done my first read through. There are so many things underlined as if it was a
I'm so glad to hear.
textbook.
Yeah.
But I will definitely go through it again, or maybe even, I have a GPT wellness companion. This is my latest thingy.
Yeah.
So I will definitely add things to that. It already knows like it has my blood test, it has my
Mm.
cycle, it has my diet, and this I will have to
Yeah.
add your whole book. I will have to
Yeah.
dump it into it, so it helps me because yeah, it feels like it might be difficult to keep up with it. What happens, for example, if I start with this approach, and then some days I just can't listen, I'm just crazy.
Yeah.
So would you say there is a best moment to get back to it, or even start with it, or would you say it doesn't matter, just check where you are on your cycle and get started, do as much as you can, and little by little you will understand more, and you'll
Yeah.
be able to work with it more?
I think for most women, we have this like all or nothing sort of mentality and
Oh, I
approach.
totally, I totally have it. Like if I
Yeah,
don't do it exactly the way it has to be, I'm like, okay, let's not do it at all. And I don't
exactly.
want to make that mistake.
Right. And I think part of that's just kind of how we've been taught, right? Like we've been conditioned in that kind of paradigm of we go all in, we're going to commit everything, we're going to give everything to this thing. And I think you can, but I, like you said, it may be one of those things where you do that, you may feel like, man, this is a lot. There's a lot to change everything. If I will admit, I've been doing this for I don't know however many years, 7 years, maybe something at this point, 6 years. I still don't cycle everything. Like not everything in my life is cycled matched with my cycle. And that's okay too, right? Like there's some seasons when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna match up my food. I'm gonna be really good about matching up my food with my cycle. And then other seasons I'm like, I'm gonna eat whatever I want. There's going to be times when I'm maybe in a launch mode and I've got like big projects going. And I know that like
Yeah.
in this season, I may not be honoring my cycle as much as maybe in
Mm-hmm.
another season. And so giving yourself that fluidity and that grace to adjust and accommodate to what life needs. Always ensuring that they're like in my season, I know like, okay, this is launch season. It may not look the
Mm-hmm.
same as in another season, but I know that I've planned for after launch to have that downtime, to have that rest, right? Instead
Mm-hmm.
of just like keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. So allow yourself the fluidity to adjust what you can and what you are maybe not able to do at this point in time and be okay with that. Even if it's just the awareness. Like most of my clients will tell me they've seen profound shifts in their life with just that awareness of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, on my calendar, I'm in my ovulation phase. Okay, cool. What is that? What am I noticing about my body right now? What am I noticing about how I feel right now? And even just that, like even just the awareness can start making huge ripples for you. So don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily feel like you have to go in and change everything or you have to do all this big work or it's like Renae is telling me I have to overhaul my entire calendar, my entire business, and the way I structure everything. It's like just being present with like, what's actually here for me right now? Where am I right now? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is happening for me right now? Like, how do I bring myself back into this present moment and just become aware of what's here for me right now? And that alone can have huge, profound shifts for you, even without
Mm-hmm.
changing anything. Like, without changing anything in your calendar, that would be just like icing on the top. This awareness component piece will change everything for you.
I love that flexibility that allows for so much more, and just do what you
Yeah.
can. All right. Now, before we wrap this up, I want to be conscious of your time as well. I would love to know what's next for you. I love to ask this question. Where do you see yourself in 3 years from now? Although to me, it feels like you've done it all. It's already there where I would imagine, where many of us maybe imagine ourselves to be, like, oh my God, she's doing what she loves at many levels. What more is there?
What more is there? I think for
But does it
me,
have to be more?
yeah, I think for me, I have like a very strong vision of the mastermind that I want to continue creating. Right now, it's still in an like evolutionary phase. It's still growing into what it's going to be. So like I have this vision of what it is, and we're like micro stepping to get there. So for me, the retreats, funny you mentioned ChatGPT, and like I have one that has my whole human design and my astrology and like my favorite things, like this whole, so it's like it's become my business coach. It's just amazing. But when I've asked, I talk back and forth with ChatGPT, it's very clear, like being in the retreats and this like high level coaching type of experience is like my sweet spot. Right now, I host one retreat a year, which I absolutely love. We just got back from, and I'm like sitting there in awe, like, oh, this is just magical. And so I have visions of like creating more retreats and spending more in person. I know for the last however many years, I've spent so much time building an online business, and it's all online. And I'm really feeling this pull towards in person and building more in person events and in person experiences. And so I think that's where the vision for me is, and I think it's partly where AI is taking us too. But like, I really think that there's going to be a shift and a move in the industry away from content teaching type of stuff. And it's going to be more in this experience and things like that. And so, one, I think a lot of my stuff and the vision where I'm taking place, people and things, is not in the sense of like, come to me for the content, come to me, don't come to me for the information, because in all fairness, we could probably Google everything content wise that we wanted, right? Or even now, Chat GPT. Like the other day, I asked it about something and it spits out all this information for me, right?
Yeah.
Content-based businesses are going to become kind of the way of the past, but the way of the future is going to be experiential, like in the body, listening to the body, feeling the body, like this energetic component that the AI is not going to be able to do. So for me personally, I've been feeling this pull and then seeing this trend with AI and content. I'm like, definitely that's where I'm headed, is more experiential, like experiencing things, like feeling things, like being with things, whether that be actual virtual workshops still or in-person workshops or retreats or whatnot. But that's the vision. That's where I'm headed, is like really helping people experience something rather than just teaching something.
Fantastic. I can see that. And yeah, we are craving more of a, like, we don't want more data, we don't want more information. We want to, like, understanding ourselves is not so high up on the list for many of us, and this is so much part of that. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Renae. I so appreciate your time today. And even though you said you might look, I don't know, more tired or whatever, you were fire. I loved it. I think you truly brought your very best everything. So I truly appreciate that. And everybody, get Renae's book. I love it. It's definitely one of my key references from now on. And yeah, if you are in Europe, Amazon is super easy. It arrived real quick to me. So yeah, I will keep promoting it in my circles, and I hope I will get my husband to listen to this episode. I don't think he has listened to any of my episodes fully yet, so I hope this one will be the one.
Maybe he'll get there. At least he can listen on a fast speed or something.
Yeah, he still needs to practice his English. He will even need to slow it down, but yeah, he has some rough moments sometimes with his daughter, who is now 18. So it will be even easier for him to understand her, I think.
Totally. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Renae.
Thank you.
And is there anything else that I haven't asked you about and you think it's crucial for our listeners to be aware of?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot. I think we covered so much. I think one of the things I would say is that like most of my clients walk away saying they feel like they've just been granted permission. And so if you just give yourself, it's not like me permissioning you, like you permissioning you, right? So like give yourself just that permission to build the business the way you want to build it, to build the life you want to build.
Hmm.
I know to my core, like that is one of my missions and my purposes in this world is to help women begin to feel like help them find the permission to live the life that they want to live. And so like give yourself that grace to like figure that out and figure like allow yourself to go against the rules, like break the rules, like go against the paradigm, like just begin to give yourself the
Hmm.
permission to build the life that you want. Yeah.
Perfect. I can
Yeah.
already feel it. I'm so excited about this
Yay.
permission. I'm definitely want to give myself permission and I'm going to do it. Thanks,
I love that.
Renae.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Appreciate you.